As I get ready to go out in the streets and do some more things, gotta iron these clothes, but let's get into more life topics, you know. Respond to April from Google Plus. You know, she asked me a question, you know, basically, you know, it was a topic idea, and you know, we'll get into what that is. In order to answer that question, I got to tell a quick story. It may make me a little bit vulnerable, but I want to give the truth. So I want to try to answer that question from, you know, at least my perspective, or give some context, you know, to, you know, my answer on how I, you know, deal with such an issue. So in 2013, no, not 2013. I'm lying. Sorry to my grandmother for that one. In 2015, in March, you know, that's when this story takes place. On March 4th, if I'm not mistaken, 2015, my grandmother, God rest her soul, Mary Waller, she passes away due to complications, you know, with her health. You know, age 79. You know, sad time. Don't judge me on getting the dates mixed up, because the funny thing is, as my grandmother is dying, literally like 3-4 days later, I get fired from my job. You know, and they know this, you know, there's some nonsense complications with that. So basically, I lose my grandmother on the 4th, and I'm unemployed on the 10th. The funeral is on the 14th, which, you know, was all kind of crazy. So, you know, I'm going through a whole bunch of stuff in my mind, trying to remember, you know, how it went down. Since she was staying with me and my mother at the time, you know, of her passing, it was a hard pill to swallow. You know, it was a challenging thing, you know, as far as, you know, what to do. And then at the same time, you know, I'm trying to gather in losing the job. You know, I mean, imagine losing somebody you care about and losing the job at the same time. I mean, you'll probably be tripping out all kind of ways and stuff like that. You know, like, you know, what's going on here? So it's like, you know, how do you deal with something like that? Or at least, how did I deal with that? Because, you know, it's like a double whammy. It's like, you know, you lose somebody you care about, and then, you know, you losing, you know, some of the money that you have, you know. So all I can do is speak for how I dealt with that situation. Well, first things first, you know, I had to deal with the funeral stuff, you know, had to, you know, be there for the family. Actually, not having a job at that time meant that I could actually be there, you know, to go to the funeral, because most times when somebody passes away, I hate to admit it, maybe a lot of us experience that, you know, stuff goes down, and, you know, you got to fight to get off work, or worry about if you're going to have a job, you know, or, you know, they're telling you maybe this is not immediate family or whatever. But, you know, my grandmother, she meant so much and still means so much to my family. You know, 79 years is not something you could just easily replace. You know, especially my mother at the time and my aunts who were going through the grieving process. You know, I was just pretty much trying to be there for my mother and anybody else, you know, that I could be, as well as going through my own personal things myself. So basically, you know, I went to, you know, the funeral, you know, the repast. You know, I was there to talk to the family members and stuff like that. You know, then I had to, after that was done, I had to deal with, you know, the issue of, you know, trying to take care of my work situation. So I got unemployed and things of that nature, you know, and, you know, stuff was worked out. Like I said, I can't really go too in detail with that, because that's not what this is about me, you know, what I did with the job and whatnot. It was just to give background on the fact that, you know, I had different things going on while losing a loved one. So how did I cope with all these different situations going on, you know, and put it into perspective and not, as with most things, what helps people cope is to remember the good times, is to remember the lessons that my grandmother taught me. Like she hit me with game, you know, stuff like, you know, don't talk about it, be about it. You know, stuff like, you know, you can't find what you ain't really looking for. The jokes we used to tell, the memories you used to share. I mean, those are the things that help me, try to overcome the loss or cope with what was happening. Realizing that she wasn't going through the pain that she was experiencing while she was alive. You know, seeing her in the nursing home, you know, seeing her in the cardiac, ward or unit, you know, those are things that really, you know, could mess with a person. Even now, trying not to get, you know, like really extra emotional on camera, you know, like I said, that stuff is it's something interesting. I forget which culture this is. I don't know if it's a East Indian culture thing where how when a loved one passes away, their culture, I forget this culture, they don't let people just go off to the side and be alone. They don't let people just, you know, say, okay, you got a loved one die, like a family member die, and you go off and you mourn by yourself. What I did is something that they do in certain, Eastern, Far Eastern, Middle Eastern cultures. They don't let you be by yourself. You're around people. So I was constantly around family, you know, especially, you know, losing a job, especially wondering what I was going to do next. You know, how is it going to work in my house? How's my mother going to deal with certain things with losing her, you know, her mother, and I'm losing my grandmother, and then, you know, explaining to my niece that, you know, her great-grandmother is not there anymore. Those are difficult conversations to have, but what helped me get through, and what I suggest, or I could advise anybody else, is that when you do have a loss of a loved one, don't hide from it. Don't run from it. You know, embrace what happened. Be around family. Share the memories and the moments and the things that, you know, made that person's existence special. You know, now to be on the other side, you know, if the person was no good, then, you know, be real about that too. But that's a whole other conversation. If you had a great relationship with somebody that you lost, be real about that. You know what I'm saying? Share, you know, different stories, you know, and different interactions with the folks that, you know, interacted with them. You know, memories that you had together. You know, have these conversations. Don't run off to the side and just be mournful about it. Create, you know, a community of where you're able to, you know, speak openly and talk about this stuff. And sometimes I feel like in society, all too often, you know, these things happen and then we just go our separate ways after the person died. But for me personally, how I dealt with it and how I would tell somebody to deal with the loss of a loved one is don't hide from it. You know, don't be afraid to acknowledge it. Don't be afraid to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. You know, embrace the situations. You know that person is not experiencing that pain anymore. Remember the good times. You could think about the bad times as well, but make your peace with the situation. And I had to make my peace with the fact that my grandmother is no longer here. It's challenging. Like days like today, on my day off, you know, I would be kicking it with her, but she's not here no more. But the lessons, the wisdom, the game, you know, the things, the teachings that she passed on to me are still there. It's still with me, you know, so that doesn't leave me. She's alive in my memories. So I just tell folks, you know, just because they're gone, they don't have to be forgotten. Whoever your loved one is, whatever the circumstances or situation is, you know, just because they're gone doesn't mean they have to be forgotten. And in the memory of them, in the time spent and shared with these folks, with these people that you love, that we care about, those are the things that help us to cope with, you know, with losing a loved one. So, you know, I was real and I was vulnerable on this. I tell folks, comment, like, share, dislike, whatever you want. Be respectful. You want me disrespectful, you don't want me to come see you. But at the same time, I've been real vulnerable and honest. And April, hopefully this answered your question. You know, I look forward to the next video that I'll be getting into. I'll probably talk about discouragement. Somebody was asking me about that. And take care, man. I gotta go out here and do some things.